Okay, so on this question, it says, is the racial distribution for students on work study different from the racial distribution for students not on work study? The results of a recent study are shown below. So here's some results. So what's going on here? Well, first off, what's work study? Work study is like financial aid. I was on work study. I was on financial aid. My parents couldn't afford to pay for all my college. So work study is basically where you get a financial aid. The school helps you pay your tuition by giving you a job on campus. Like I worked in the library. I worked in different departments as like a secretary or mailroom guy or things like that. So that's what work study is. So it's people on financial aid that get a job on campus to help pay for their college tuition. So here's what's going on. So basically, we're wondering, is there a certain kind of racial makeup for students on work study that's just different than students who do not get work study? Like are there more whites or blacks? Here's different whites, blacks, Hispanics, Asians, or others, right? Are they kind of the same, or are certain groups getting more financial aid than other groups? Is there differences? What's the deal? So how do we figure that out? So here we have. So they did a study. They got a bunch of people, and so here they have a bunch of people that are on work study. 79 white, 42 black, 76 Hispanic, 57 Asian, 23 others. Then they got a bunch of people that they surveyed that were not on work study, and here's the numbers for them. So now they're not exactly the same, but are they basically the same, the same percentages, the same spread, same distribution? Is the racial distribution for work study students different or same as the racial distribution for students on work study? Okay, first question. What is the correct statistical test used? We can see right there it says homogeneity. That's the answer. How would you know it was homogeneity if the answer wasn't sitting right here? Well, if we go to the notes, and let me do that with you. So I'm going to go to the notes and help you think about this. So if we come on down, here's the notes. This is the let me write it up here. This is the unit 4 notes. So the unit 4 notes. So how would we know? You might think it could be goodness of fit, homogeneity, independence. How do we know? Well, the main way we know is because there's two different samples, right? There was one group, look back up here. There was one group that was on work study and another group that was not on work study. They surveyed a whole bunch of people on work study and a whole bunch of people not on work study. So whenever they have two different samples, sample of people on work study, a sample of people not on work study, that's homogeneity, like homo, same. So we're trying to see if those two groups are really the same racial distribution. Whenever you're testing if two different samples are really the same, that's homogeneity. Now you might say, well, how do you know it's not goodness of fit? Well, goodness of fit, we always are testing to see if all the categories are like equal distribution, like same number of whites, blacks, Hispanics, Asians, and others. That's not what we're testing. We're not saying are all the racial groups exactly the same. No, we're saying is this, and then the other one is if they give you category percentages. So they didn't give us, they're not asking us if all the races are exactly the same, and they're not giving us category percentages. That would be goodness of fit. Independence, test for independence, that's if you have only one sample. We have two. We have the work study people and the non-work study people. We don't only have one. So for those reasons, test for homogeneity. We're seeing if those two different samples are really the same, same. So getting back to the question. So we go, okay, we're testing if the work study and the non-work study are really the same. That's homogeneity. So what's the null and what's the H1? We'll have to come back down. Once you know it's test for homogeneity in the uniform notes, you can look right here and it says HO, the two variables are the same. H1, they're different or not same. So HO same, H1 different or not same. So we come back here and we go, oh, okay. So HO, that's why it's going to be same. And H1, not the same. Same and not same are different, right? It's not same means different. All right, so there's HO, H1. Now it's time to go to the online calculator. We got to get C and D, which is test statistic and p-value. So where are we going to go? Well, coming on down again to the unit 4 notes, it tells us where we're going to go. Online calculator, test for homogeneity. No big surprise there, huh? So off we go, test for homogeneity. See if I can find it. Here it is. What number is it? 21? Yeah, 20. No, it's goodness fit. 23. See down there, 23, test for homogeneity. Make it a little bigger. 23, test for homogeneity. Click on that. and it opens up, and it's basically got column A and column B. I want you to put the numbers down A and down B. So, all right, so that means we got to go back and get the numbers. What were those numbers? I've lost it. Where's the question? Wait, I'm in the total wrong column there. Oh, there we go. All right, so I'm going to put those, I'm going to write them down here. 79, 42, 76, 57, 23. And then the other one's going to be 116, 77, 111. You can't really copy and paste these because they go down in the calculator. So I'm looking basically at these numbers right here. These are the work study. These are going to go down column A. And these numbers are going to go down column B. So yeah, you can't copy and paste because the calculator's not set up that way. See how they go down instead of across? So we just got to type them in one at a time. Here we go. 79, 42, 76, 57, and 23. And then the other column B for the non-work study people, 116, 77, 111, 78, and 30. So there we go. And then just go down and hit calculate. Boom. And there's, see the chi-squared, that x squared is called chi-squared. Chi-squared, right, right down there, chi-squared, and the p-value, 0.79627, so 7963. Let's see if that's right. So, yep, looks good. 7963, there's p-value. There's the chi-squared. This is it's called chi. It's like x squared, but it's a Greek letter actually called chi-squared, whatever. I'm not going to test you on the names. But that's the test statistic, which we don't really care much about. But this we care about a lot. That's our p-value we got from the calculator. Okay, so now it's time to wrap up this test. The p-value, which is 0.7963. How's that compared to the alpha? What is the alpha? Oh, there it is, 0.05. How's that compared to the alpha? 0.05. Well, this p-value is greater, isn't it? That's why it says greater out here. Yeah, it's greater. That p-value, right? 79 is certainly greater than 0.5. What does that mean we should do? Well, you know the saying, right? If the p is low, then the HO, the null, must go, meaning go away. So is the p low? No, our p value is not low, right? Our p value is greater. 79 is greater. It's not low. So in this case, our p value is not low. So the HO must not go away, right? If the p is not low, the HO must not go away, which means the HO, I'm going to, okay, move back up a little bit. There we go. All right, so the HO, I'm going to fail to reject, right? Because the HO is not going away. So we're failing to reject the HO, which means we are what? We're keeping HO. We're keeping HO. So we're going to choose right here. So that's why fail to reject. Keep HO. Now, what does that mean? We'll go back up to HO. So, oh, by the way, remember, HO is always weak evidence. Every hypothesis test, HO is always weak evidence. H1 is always strong evidence. Okay. So, then let's say we're going to keep HO. So then come back up here and go, right, HO. That's the one I'm keeping, which means what? Weak evidence and what is the same. We're saying the two groups, the work study and the non-work study racial distributions are pretty much the same. They're the same. There's really not a big racial difference between people on work study and those not on work study because the evidence is weak. Okay, so we come on down and we go, okay. Now notice we have insufficient, 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 insufficient. It's got to be one of those four. It's not sufficient ones. Why? Because weak evidence, right? Weak evidence means insufficient, meaning there was not enough evidence. That's what insufficient means. If you write a bad check, write a check for check for $1 million. If I was to write you a check for $1 million and you go to the bank, try to cash it, the bank would say, no, he has insufficient funds. Meaning I don't have enough funds. There's not $1 million in my account. So even though I can write $1 million on a check, they won't give you $1 million because I don't have it in my account. I have they call that insufficient funds, not enough. So insufficient means not enough. In other words, there's not enough evidence because the evidence is weak. There's weak evidence, insufficient, not enough. So it's one of these four insufficient ones. How do you know which one? Well, remember, it's insufficient. And then we also said it was same. They're the same as each other, right? Because that was our HO. HO said same. Remember we said keep HO right here. Keep HO. Come back up. What does HO say? They're the same. Okay, so we're looking for insufficient and same. So now that can really be confusing because you might say, okay, insufficient, dependent. No. Insufficient, not the same. Yeah, that's actually our answer. Now you might think, wait, Mr. Aaron, you're supposed to do same. Yeah, but here's the deal. There's not enough evidence to conclude that the two groups are not the same. So we conclude they are the same. You follow that logic? This is our right answer right here, even though it says not the same. Because if you read the whole sentence for all that it's worth and get the real meaning out of it, it's saying there was insufficient evidence. There was not enough evidence to conclude that they're not the same. So that means they are the same, which is correct. We're supposed to conclude they are the same, which means there was not enough evidence to conclude they're not the same. It's tricky because it's a double negative, isn't it? It'd be like if I said, I did not skip class. So that means I was in class, right? It's a double negative. That's what they're saying here. There was not enough evidence to say they're not the same. So then we conclude they are the same. Right. Right. Remember, HO up here said they're the same. We conclude the work study, non-work study, same racial makeup, right? There was weak evidence, so we concluded they are the same. There was such weak evidence, we could not conclude they're not the same. So we concluded they are the same. That's what this is saying. Not enough evidence to conclude they're not the same. So there we go. And that is a little tricky at the ending.